past few months, we've had to confront two crises at once. Of course, there's the coronavirus pandemic and also a national reckoning when it comes to race and the police. And at the County of San Diego, both have intersected in a big way. Here's my conversation with County Supervisor Dianne Jacob. So this was a big week for the county, of course, on the coronavirus front, but also on the police reform front. That's where I want to start. The county approved 3 new measures, one to strengthen the Citizen Law Enforcement Review Board, another to create mobile crisis response team, and of course one to create an Office of Equity and Racial Justice. Quite simply, do you believe these measures will help relieve some of the years-old tension between law enforcement and communities of color in San Diego?
Well, I hope so. That certainly was the intent of these measures. What we're talking about on the mobile crisis response teams, that really was not a new idea. That was something that we started last year. In fact, I laid out my State of the County address in 2019 to have a complete system of behavioral health and the connection between behavioral health, meaning mental health services, and addiction services, and tying behavioral health issues to the criminal justice system was critical. And the importance of that, it's really significant because there are too many calls, too many people in our jails that have mental health issues, and law enforcement's time should be there just to protect and serve. That's their job. But unfortunately, in a lot of cases, they become mental health counselors. They've been mediating between domestic disputes.
It's one thing that unites a lot of progressives and law enforcement that this should be off their plate.
Absolutely. So let's try to separate it, get these off the ground. So that's really critical. On the office, the new office that you mentioned, we took action to establish the Office of Equity and Social Justice, but the details need to be worked out yet. But I hope that signals the community that we want to make sure that everything we're doing in county government gives everyone, regardless of color, race, creed, sexual preference, whatever, across the board, that we are doing all that we possibly can to give equal opportunity to all in what we have to offer within the county employment.
It seems then appropriate to turn to the Citizen Law Enforcement Review Board. There was the motion to give a little bit more investigative authority. Do you have confidence that this new and improved review board will be effective and not toothless, as critics have said? Well,
only time will tell. But what we adopted yesterday is a big boost for the Citizens Law Enforcement and Review Board. Unfortunately, they have not had adequate funding. So that will be looked at and then put into the budget to make sure they're adequately funded. And I think in the end, it's all going to depend on the individuals that are on that board. We do need to make sure that there's accountability and that they have the resources that they need, and they're doing the job and the oversight that is required and necessary. And let me just say this, though, in terms of law enforcement. What we're talking about here in San Diego County, we're not Minneapolis, we're San Diego County. We are different. And already within the Sheriff's Department, a lot of changes have been made that are only being talked about now by others that are looking to San Diego County as a role model. So let's build from that too. And at the same time, let's support our police officers and our deputy sheriffs.
Do you feel as though officers in San Diego County are being treated unfairly right now?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because I think all of the protests, and people have a right to protest, but they don't have a right to loot and steal and destroy property that is not theirs. But law enforcement has a very, very tough job. Very, very tough job. Until you walk into in the shoes of a deputy sheriff or a police officer or even a probation officer, you don't know. And for those who are placing judgment on those who wear the badge, I think that that is unfair too, unless you have been in an exact situation where your life has been threatened.
Supervisor, I want to turn now to the coronavirus. I look at California's numbers going up. I look at San Diego's numbers going up. I look at a trigger being hit. Supervisor, are we moving too fast?
It's too early to tell, but definitely the trend line is going up, not down in certain areas. Community outbreaks, the positivity of those who are being tested, that seems to be going up. But let's face it, what we've seen, we've had reopenings, we have had the protests and a lot of gatherings, and I don't think at this point that we have seen all of the results of those gatherings or the reopenings. And so what our public health officer has done is put a pause. Well, let's just pause on things here and let's watch it for the rest of this week, next week, and see where we are. What we don't want to do, we don't want to have to dial back where we are. We want to keep moving forward and reopening. Our economy needs it, our businesses need that, and it's a real balancing act because we also have a responsibility to protect the public health.
If you had a constituent who came to you and said, I don't want to wear a mask, the government can't tell me whether or not I should wear a mask, it's infringing on my liberties, what would you say to him?
Well, I would say, first of all, we have freedoms, but along with freedom comes responsibility. And when we are in a public health crisis, the responsible thing to do is what the public health officer, who knows better than any of us how to be safe, when she says, wear the mask, wear the mask.
Supervisor Jacob, thank you so much. Now, I should say it had to be cut for time, but in our interview, Supervisor Jacob also called for the release of names of businesses where COVID-19 outbreaks have been confirmed. You can see that answer on my social media pages, Twitter, Facebook, Danny E. Freeman. Straight ahead on Politically Speaking, we tell you why this week is going to be a blockbuster Supreme Court week. Stay with us.